Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
The views and opinions expressed by the host do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views, opinions, and insinuations made by the host, guests, do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the network. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. Tonight, a major shift in government policy. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declares a state of national energy emergency as global oil prices surge and tensions in the Middle East intensify. The declaration signals growing pressure on the country's energy security, with the potential ripple effects on fuel prices, inflation, and the cost of everyday living. But as this move takes effect, critical questions emerge. Why now? Was the country prepared for this scenario? And will these measures be enough to shield Filipinos from further economic strain? We break down what this means, what's at stake, and what comes next. Ako po si Ox Balyado, and this is the PH Insider on TV. At upang higit pang mas maunawaan natin ang mga legal na usapin sa mga isyong ating pag-uusapan, makakasama pa rin natin siyempre ang ating kapita-pitagang attorney ng bayan, Attorney Rizandro Unay.
Magandang gabi. Samahan niyo na naman kami sa isa na namang oras na paghihimay ng mga isyong napapanahon. Ako po si Rizandro Unay.
At katuwang din po natin para himayin ang mga isyong pampolitika at mga matatalinong diskurso. Isa pong veterano sa larangan ng mga isyong politikal, matapang at diretso sa kanyang mga binibitawang pahayag at pagpapaliwanag. Academician from the University of Santo Tomas and international relations expert, our resident political analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dennis Coronacion. Sir, good evening.
Magandang gabi. Ako po si Professor Dennis Coronacion na muling sinasamahan si Sir Ox at si Attorney Rizandro upang himayin ang mga nagbabagang issue na kinakaharap ng ating bansa.
Ang headline sa mga pinag-uusapan o mainit na pinag-uusapan ngayon ng sambayanan. Pangulong Marcos nagdeklara ng State of National Energy Emergency. Emergency powers sa excise tax, permado na. Idineklara ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang State of National Energy Emergency dahil sa tumitinding tensyon sa gitnang silangan dulot ng giyera sa pagitan ng US, Israel at Iran. Sa Executive Order No. 110 na nilagdaan ng Pangulo, nakasaad dito ang pagdedeklara ng State of National Energy Emergency and adopting the Unified Package for Livelihood, Industry, Food and Transport o UPLIFT. Nakasaad sa EO 110 na ang mga kaguluhang ito ay nagdudulot ng matinding epekto sa pandaigdigang merkado ng langis at dahil mahalaga ang rehiyong ito sa produksyon at transportasyon ng langis, nagkakaroon ng kawalan at katiyakan sa supply, pagkaantala ng supply chain at patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng langis sa buong mundo na nagbabanta sa seguridad sa enerhiya ng Pilipinas. Nilagdaan rin ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang Republic Act No. 12316 na nagbibigay sa Pangulo ng emergency powers para suspindihin o bawasan ang excise tax sa mga produktong petrolyo. Ito ay bahagi pa rin ng hagbang na pamahalaan para mapagaan ang epekto ng pagtaas ng presyo ng langis sa mga Pilipino na epekto pa rin ng giyera sa Middle East. Inaasahan na makatutulong ang nasabing batas para mabawasan ang dagdag na gastos ng mga motorista at commuters sa sunod-sunod na oil price hike. From headlines to public debate, we now turn our attention to this issue. Joining us live via phone patch is the RCBC Chief Economist, Michael Ricafort. Sir, good evening. Welcome to the PH Insider on TV.
Hi, good afternoon po, Attorney Sir Ox, Attorney Kunay, and Dr. Dennis. Thank you po mga taga-subaybay po.
Yeah, good evening, and once again, thanks for gracing us tonight. And Yeah, let's now delve into the details of the things confronting us, as far as, the issues are concerned. Well, the first thing I'd like to ask is that, the palace has repeatedly insisted that there is no crisis. So what changed? What's behind the sudden declaration of the state of national emergency? And also kindly just tell us more about its economic implications.
Well, of course, it's like contingency planning of some sort, no? Before, it's like preparing for a calamity or a storm or any form of emergency, in the sense that, it is part of preparation, the worst case scenario. It's not just that. We are seeing countries like other Asian countries like South Korea, but they're preparing for the worst. So it's like stress test, it's like business continuity plan, it's like emergency planning. Well, just to make sure that if the worst case happens, hopefully not, we're all ready. Let's say for any potential problem, a challenge may occur. So there could be already some offsetting, mitigating factors, such as, for instance, be particular about this. There will be a need to augment supplies, diversify supplies of energy. So this is something proactive in nature before, as part of the preparations. And of course, we must be ready with the potential impact. We don't know for sure when this war will end. We don't know for sure also when the supply normalize the flow of oil from the Strait of Hormuz, which accounts for 20% of the world's total oil, crude oil, and so natural gas. So we don't know. What's for sure is that we have seen already sharp increase in diesel, more than doubled. In gasoline, almost doubled or already doubled. If you compare it to the level, say, the previous cycle, 4 years ago during the Russia-Ukraine war, diesel is already higher. Gasoline is almost the same. It's very much similar. So what's more predictable, what's more certain is that prices will go up. And of course, that's kind of inevitable. With higher energy prices, it will lead to higher transport costs, higher prices of other goods and services, and of course, we need to prepare for that. Interest rates will go up as well, and this one is really the unique factor now. It's supply side related to the inventories of countries. Well, the key question: would there be sufficient supply? Would the inventories be used up? And of course, it's demand supply dynamic. So the lower the supply, prices tend to shoot up. So everything related to that. Would there be laying out for instance, the need for, would there be under the law, would there be possible judicially price control to better protect the consuming public, the general public? Of course, when there's limited supplies and inventories of energy, petroleum, energy-related products, how would would there be a need for rationing? And who sectors would be prioritized? For instance, public transport, energy producers, mission-critical industries, and those that produce basic commodities. So I think everything is prepared. If and when the worst case scenario happens, we're ready. We know what to do to mitigate this beforehand and to face them as they come. And at least everything is in place, and everything is well calculated in that respect.
Well, I agree with your statement. You earlier said that there's really an inevitable domino effect when it comes, vis-a-vis the issue on scarcity of energy supply. Yeah, but I understand my caballeros here, my co-hosts here have quite a few questions for you as well, Sir Michael. Maybe Attorney Una is here for you.
Good evening po, Sir Michael.
Good evening.
Yes, para lang po mailatag natin ang konteksto para sa ating mga mamamayan, lalo na po yung mga payak ang mga isipan. Pwede po ba ninyong expound sa ipaliwanag sa ating mga kababayan, gaano po ba talaga kalala itong krisis na to para umabot sa mahigit 100 pesos kada litro ang krudo at saka yung gasolina? Ito po ba ay makatarungan at tama po ba ito na ayon po sa inyong mga datos?
Well, kasi meron na mga ganyang klaseng risk in the past. Maring hindi, well, going 4 years ago, pero parang mas malala po ito ngayon. No? Kasi mas mataas na po yung presyo ng diesel. Yung gasolina, medyo hawig, no? Papuntang 100. Parang more than double na yung presyo ng diesel. Tapos yung gasolina, magdodoble na po. So, imagine niyo po yung pass-through effect na sa mga presyo ng other goods and services. Nataas po talaga yan. Nakita na natin yan yung past cycles pag kami magkakataon na ganito. Nataas po talaga. So, hindi natin may iwasan. Kaya, nagsisigturon po yung mga kababayan natin. Kasi, siyempre, may price shock sa enerhiya, sa pakarga, o pati yung ibang produkto. Kaso, ang tanong doon, yung kita ba, agad, baka mga hindi pa, kasi nag-preso yan. Yun yung message sa dante sa wage board, no? Tapos, siyempre, hindi pa ganun plano. Kaya may tightness, hindi na disposable income sa mga tao.
Opo.
Nagtitipid sila, yung mga negosyo, tataas din yung cost, yung mga raw materials, yung mga ibang inputs, no? At eventually, labor mag-a-adjust. Kaya, nagtitipid din yung mga kumpanya. At same reaction yan. Lahat gusto mag-adjust din ang presyo. Ipapasa nila yung pataas sa mga presyo, hindi sa petroleum, pati affected goods and services. They'll try to adjust higher their selling prices and yung mga wages and everything, no? Well, expected na kagad. Hindi lang dito, nangyari rin yan sa buong mundo. So, nakita na natin yan 4 years ago. So, ang ginagawa ng mga central bank, nagtataas sila ng interest rate kasi yun yung tanging paraan na kontrolin itong inflation. Kasi hindi natin kailan alam kung kailan matatapos yung gera na ito at yung disruption ng supply sa trade of products. Kasi, kung ang solusyon talaga dyan, para ang inflation kasi pag hindi direnda yan, akit yan ang akyat. So, ang solusyon, kahit pahinain yung ekonomiya ay yung sakripisyo, parang gamot yan yung interest rate sa mataas. Habang maliit pa yung sakit, magagamot na madali. Gagawin na nila yan. Naging matagumpay sila 4 years ago about that. Pero hindi sakripisyo. So ito kasi kakaiba. Medyo matagal-tagal na kasi tayong hindi nakakaranas yung ganitong rate na baka maubos yung mga inventory. Kasi dahil walang bagong supply ng langis. Nagagaling sa Middle East, lalo na yung rate of town. Dati kasi presyo lang yung problema. Ngayon, supply, baka ito pa yung template ng early 1970s ng oil shock. So, at yun nga, baka dapat ready rin. No?
Yes, sir.
Alam kung magrarasyon, sino ang priority, paano pa yung conservation measures na mas maigting kaysa doon sa previous cycle.
Sir Mike, good evening. Dennis Coronation po ito. Since we're already discussing about the government interventions and you have already explained a lot, at this point we're interested about the immediate effects of one of the interventions already mentioned. Yun nga yung presidential declaration regarding the existence of a national emergency on energy. Pero doon ako sana interested mas lalo doon sa immediate impact or effects on things that matter the most to the ordinary Filipinos. So I'd like to know, Sir Mike, what are the immediate effects of the declaration of the President on fuel prices, on inflation, and the daily expenses of Filipinos?
Ayan, magandang tanong po yan, Dr. Dennis. Kasi ano ba yung katanungan yan? What's in it for the ordinary Filipino? No? The typical na tao. No? Ordinary tao. So, at least, alam natin, they're putting their mind into this, no? Kahit hindi pa man nangyayari, no? Ina-assume na yung worst case, at least yung paghahanda ng doon. Pinag-isipan na, nag-prepare na, kung meron pa mga measures na kailangan gawin para makatulog. Halimbawa, ngayon, kung kailangan natin mag-diversify, makabili tayo ng marami pang langis, gasolina, mga supply ng enerhiya, Yun, mas maganda sana kung magawa yun, no? Parang nandun yung effort, concerted yun eh. So at least na dampen yung effect kung meron mang adverse effect because siyempre mataas na nga yung presyo, baka tumaas pa yung presyo at yung effect sa ibang presyo ng bili na tataas din. At nag-iisipan na nila, ginagawa din ng paraan para medyo ipasyon ito at buwasan yung impact, no? At ano pa ba yung alternatibong mga measures na kailangan gawin tulad ng mga subsidiya na talagang nakalatag at yung mga pagkakataon, no? Yan, no? Yung subsidies. Kasi ang subsidies, tingnan mo naman yung 5,000. Sige, inisip mo mabuti. This will only be good, no? For a typical, say, public utility vehicle driver, pag mapapakandas lang diesel, 120 na, parang ang net increase is like 70 pesos, no? 6 before the war, parang lumalabas na, ano lang eh, no? That would only be good for like, diba? 80 liters, less than 80 liters. So, parang, it's really, you know, it's relating to subsidies then, tama po yun, na, kasi ang subsidies, it's really temporary nature, parang relief measure yan, kasi nga, on the premise na, in the past cycle, baka naman temporary lang. Pero ngayon, parang pagandaan din, kung sakaling mas matagal ito, how long will this last, no? Yung elevated the prices, use the world market and naka-reflect sa local market, lampit local prices of petroleum. At yun, pagkasama rin yung sa palaisipan, kailangan pa i-adjust eventually yan, yung mga level of subsidies, kung magiging mas prolonged, yung sitwasyon na ganito, no? At hindi na sa presyo, kasi nagre-reflect talaga yung elevated na presyo kung talagang supply ay mababa. At yun, patuloy na hindi pa rin nasusolusyonan ng ano, di ba, hindi pa nag-flow yung flow ng shipment na lang, it's Strait of Hormuz, no? Kasi yung may pahiwat, alam mo, may maganda sinyalis sa sana yung US, sila Trump, Israel, sabi na, baka na-achieve na yung most of their objectives eh. Fine. Kahit yung si Israel, ganun din. Sabi, yung capability to produce nuclear weapons by Iran, parang wala na doon. Pati yung bukas na rin yung capability nila mag-produce ng ballistic missile. So, yun na lang talaga kulang sa mission nila. Yung Strait of Hormuz na yun. So, kaya nandun yung ano nila ngayon eh. Kumbaga, nag-hard negotiations sila doon eh. In fact, the bottom line, magkasistay. Pero may kanya-kanya silang kondisyon. Hindi sila magkasundo-sundo sa mga kondisyon nila para makamit yung ceasefire. No? Ang US, may listahan na 15 points. Yung Iran, at least may 5 din na, at least 5 na pinunto na baka, yun, parang sabi din nila, among many other things, hindi na, wala ng hostile attack sa kanila, sa Iran. Tapos, papabayad lahat ng gastusin. Parang, ayun, tanong doon, magiging posible ba yun? Hindi. Kaya parang ngayon ang bumabalaki doon, hindi sila mag-meet yung decree. Kasi ang bottom line doon, kasama sa kondisyon ng dito, i-buksan yung Strait of Hormuz. No? So, ayun, gano'ng katagal pag-pating-gasan, lalo na ito Iran, no? Kung kailan niya talaga i-aalaw na mag-normalize. Kasi palaging yung sinasabi niya, ayaw niya, no? Parang hindi na daw babalik sa dati. Sa normal, yung Strait of Hormuz, maniningil na daw siya ng next week pa daw kung determine na magkano yung parang sisingilin nila dito sa mga barkong dumadaan. May mga gano'n eh. May mga gano'ng, hindi gano'ng, very komplikado yung proseso eh. So, bakit sila magkasipin? Kasi proposal ng US is 1 month ceasefire, no? Kaya, ready dapat tayo sa lahat ng yan. Wala tayong control dyan eh. So, ano yung pag-usapan nila, no? With this uncertainty, ready tayo, we have been adapting, especially on the demand side of things. On the supply side of things, ay yung exogenous factor sa atin. Wala tayong control, no? Nasa kamay na talaga ng US yan, sila Trump, Israel, at lalo na ngayon, nakapuon kay Iran. Kasi siya yung may alas ngayon doon eh, no? Yung pinanghahawakan niya, yung control niya sa Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, well, yes, Sir Mike, you've kind of thoroughly pointed out very significant observations as far as this issue of, as far as this crisis is concerned, brought about by the ongoing war in the Middle East. Now, just your honest observation, where do you think that the government falls short in? I just need your honest opinion on this. No, well, apparently there are some shortcomings, so to speak. Where did the government fall short in preparing for global oil disruptions? Well, obviously, the government has apparently been taking subsequent steps to address or somehow alleviate the plights or predicaments brought about by the war. But there are also shortcomings, obvious shortcomings in that regard. Where did the government fall short, by the way?
Well, in fairness, it looks like they're putting their mind into it, no? It's manifested by this preparation. But of course, on hindsight, 2020, yeah, of course, it's really beforehand. That's part of energy when it comes to securing and hedging the suppliers, not to concentrate. Even that's part of the total concentration. Right? It's very much concentrated on that. But you cannot really blame that strategy because it's relatively cheaper, the grades may be favorable on the refiner side. But the thing is, there's also a finished, the finished petroleum products market in a class. Right? So that's an entirely different price behavior. They're much higher. It's based on some more particular demand and supply balance. There are so many, vehicles on the road for many years. That's why suddenly the table turned. It used to be cheap. Diesel used to be cheaper, but now it's significantly higher because there's significantly higher demand. But because there are many vehicles, not just the private vehicles, but also the mass transport system. Because in the past, that doesn't really the shape. There's now a greater dependency on that. And, it could have been addressed by, at least getting more suppliers nearby, as well as, we're in Asia, not passing through the Strait of Hormuz. But now also, there should have been also much more, backup plans in this kinds of emergency.
Right.
So, because of the concentration risk, there should be already agreements with more countries. This is all in anticipation, actually. All in anticipation. The ready supply agreement. Even if it's expensive, realistically, because we have the economies of scale in the Middle East. Yes, it's cheaper. The grades may be better for refining. And of course, it's not just for crude oil, but for finished petroleum products. So, although, we do understand this is already regulated, already in the private sector, primarily. So, but there could still be, some form of, in terms of government participation in that respect, in building up, just like, we have to look at the best practices, what the other governments in the region, in Asia, in ASEAN, and in other parts of the world are doing when it comes to having oil reserves or petroleum reserves. Because, that's one of the issues that was brought up. The developed countries have so much petroleum reserves that they could use the emergency such as these. So, the country and the part of the authorities of the government should at least also learn from that and have some big petroleum reserves as part of energy security. The question was fight over, hopefully, we don't know how temporary is this or how prolonged it will be, but at least there's some form of addressing that the concentration risk, having strategic research for enable to tide over the country in this kind of new risk. Or we don't know, will this be a new normal already, or will this be temporary? We've seen in the past. So that's one actually. That's one in terms of what they can do in terms of policy intervention. And of course, one of our biggest investments in recent years, foreign active investments have been renewable power, particularly wind, offshore wind, solar, and we have a lot of, the bulk of foreign investments from the Europeans is coming into the Philippines. So bottom line there, the shift to renewables could have been expedited, much faster rollout. Well, of course, it's through the private sector, yes. But any additional policy support or intervention would have helped in speeding up the development of more wind power, solar power, under more normal conditions during business as usual conditions. And now, we need it more now. We're now moving into emergency state and contingency planning stage. So, yeah, especially harnessing further solar, wind, and other renewables. So,
Yes.
sayang, the country already talked about this. We have the BNPP, and that it was never used. So that's one of the options available right now in this kind
Meaning-
of solution.
yeah.
So, of course, we have hydro, we have also we have natural gas, we have geothermal, we're number 3 in the world. At some point, we were even like, for hydro, at some point, a few decades ago, it accounted for about half of the energy power requirements in Mindanao. So it just happened that development in Mindanao has been quite fast, that they need to diversify power sources in view of large clouds, especially power interruptions, especially during the dry season when the flow of water is that large.
Right.
So there's drought, no? In the dry season. So it's a matter of planning properly the forecast.
Right.
It's not it's a structural thing that, that's part of the governance. It's part of ESG standards. It's towards more renewable power sources and away from petroleum, away from imported oil, and away from, and that would effectively reduce the dependency of the country on imported fuel. So, the EU has done that very successfully.
Meaning
EU,
there's
European Union, the solar production is much higher than coal when it comes to producing electricity. So they've done it in recent years. So it's possible. It's a matter of learning from those global best practices and adapting it here.
Right.
It's a matter of money.
Bottom line, Sir Mike, there's a whole lot of options to do. I mean, it just needs like a detailed planning that the government has to take, right? And somehow would help us a lot in addressing this issue. But we will continue with our discussion. We'll just have to pause for a very short break. We'll get back to you in a bit. All right. Beyond the declaration, the government is now armed with emergency powers to intervene in fuel pricing through excise tax adjustments. The question is, how effective will this be, and at what cost? We continue the discussion after this break, so please stay with us.
Pinoy Pawn Stars, nandito na ako, naging expert na ako since yung ground zero, yung first few months pa lang niya, naging expert na ako. And masasabi ko, ang laki na rin ng ginrow, ang laki na rin ng inakyat ng antas ng pangungoleksyon at dumami na rin yung mga collectors. Lalong-lalo na dahil sa Pinoy Pawn Stars.
maraming salamat po sa Pinoy Pawn Stars, kay Boss Toyo at kay Ma'am Loves Joy sa pagbibigay po sa akin ng tiwala para i-handle po itong Pinoy Basketball Day.
Balang araw maging icon, gusto ko kagaya ko si Idol. Malam Michael Jordan score. Kilalang magaling pagdating sa ring. Balang araw maging icon, gusto ko kagaya ko si Idol. Kaya yung tiyaga ko tina-times 4. Rat-rat lagi parang rifle.
So bilang kolektor, walang hangganan walang katapusan yung gusto naming emphasize o yung nararanasan naming kaligayahan. So hindi namin pinuputol yon hanggang sa gusto namin. Go!
Sa mga gustong magkolekta o kaya nag-start mag-collect ng mga bagay na nahihiligan nila, pagpahalagahan nyo. Kung ano yung gusto nyo, yun ang bilhin nyo, at saka kung kaya nyo afford, yun ang i-acquire nyo.
Open po ang Pinoy Pawn Star para sa lahat ng mga kolektor. Ayan, maraming salamat sa inyo.
Happy anniversary, Pinoy Pawn Star! Happy anniversary, Pawn Star! Ayan. Thank you sa lahat and I hope na supportahan niyo sila. Thank you.
Records, happy anniversary nga pala sa Pawn Star kay Boss Toyo, may kumpadre.
Welcome back to the PH Insider on TV. With Republic Act 12316 now in place, the government has a new lever to respond to rising oil prices. But with conditions attached and timing uncertain, we ask, will this be enough to ease the burden of Filipinos? Is still with us is Sir Michael Ricafort. Sir Mike, still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, there you go. Well, at this point, I understand Attorney Sandro has a few more questions for you as we continue with our discussion. Thank you for still staying with us.
Good evening again, Sir Mike.
Good evening.
Well, about the question is, the law has been signed, but implementation is not immediate. What does that signal about the government's readiness to act?
Well, now, there are other measures also, like the excise taxes. Well, we need to wait for about a month for, say, on the suspension of the excise taxes and, of course, the powers given to the president and meeting those conditions in the world market. So, yeah, under the law, yes, we'll wait for those conditions to be achieved. About $80 per barrel for at least a month, and those are one of the policy interventions to mitigate inflation, so people would be able to feel the effective reduction in fuel pump prices and ease the burden of this huge increase in fuel pump prices, as we have seen for nearly a month already. So, yeah, so that would definitely help. But of course, we all know that this is temporary in nature. It's a relief measure. It's not really meant to last long. And we have seen the patterns in the past, but hopefully it would stay that way because there would be demand destruction already.
Yes, sir. But I understand na ito pong condition na to, hindi po ba ito kaagad pwedeng ipatupad? Dahil yung conditions na to, especially yung waiting ng 30 days na magkaroon ng excess na $80 per barrel, mean of flat Singapore price ng Dubai crude oil, hindi po ba ito kaagad pwede na lang ngayon ipatupad?
Well, possible naman po na whatever is provided by the law, emergency powers given to the president in this kind of situation, pwede naman i-implement kagad yun, Basta naman, it's within the bounds and what's allowed by those emergency powers. So, yeah, because given the exigencies, given the urgency of the time. So,
yes, sir. Kasi ito po ang contentions ngayon na dapat, since nandyan na, napirmahan na yung batas, dapat ipatupad na kaagad-agad. Since na-meet naman yung conditions na previously. You think it would be sound for the government right now to address the emergency if they immediately implement this law?
Yeah, ngayon po talaga pinakakailangan yan. Kung wala naman pong babalaki, wala naman violation, so why not? Ngayon po pinakakailangan dahil napakataas po talaga ng mga weekly increases. Kaya wala po yung when it comes to that kind of kung napapanahon ko, talaga napapanahon po talaga. Basta provided for and allowed by wala pong dapat problema. Kaya pong gawin kagad-agad yan. Everything is clear naman po for implementation. Lahat po ng mga requirement ng batas, kung kailangan pa ba niya ng parang publication or whatever, kung masunod naman po lahat, ito na po talaga yung panahon na kailangan niya.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Speaking of conditions, Sir Mike, what conditions should be met before excise taxes can be suspended or reduced? And are they realistic in today's situation?
Well, ang number one po talaga yung world price na above $80. Mukhang nakamit na. Matagal na rin po yun.
Yeah, so
konti na lang. Halos isang buwan na yung pag-in-average po yan. Yun, mukhang very soon. Because we're already on the 26th already. Gera po, February 28, nag-reflect na po sa world price. Parang may 3 linggo na Hindi naman po kagad-agad nag-80, pero sandali lang po yun. Simula ng gera kaya wala na pong babalakid kung may mekanismo naman po yung batas doon sa provision. Mukha namang market forces naman would corroborate with it. Level na dapat maging paranoid tayo when it comes to risk management at kasi hindi naman masama yung ganun kasi para yung sa kahandaan natin sa mga similar crisis, no?
That's true.
Yung mga stress scenarios na tinatawag.
Yes.
Yung mga part of business, parang business continuity planning yan. Expect the worst and prepare for the worst. No? Hopefully it doesn't happen, but bottom line, we know what to do and we're prepared for it much better. Yun talaga yan. Kasi just like in any other emergency, hindi lang naman yan sa Middle East. Kasama din dyan yung mga kalamidad, mga lindol, bagyo, ibang gera na malapit dito. Dapat holistic yan. Yung kahandaan na yan, no? May foresight, kumbaga. May abang, kumbaga. May preparasyon. Kasi it may seem parang pag under more normal circumstances, parang pa nga yan no? Parang minsan it's taken lightly, pero seryoso po talaga dapat yan. Yung mga stress scenarios na yan, mga worst case scenarios na yan. Hindi lang po limitado dito sa sitwasyon na to. Sa marami pa pong pagkakataon din, no? Yung talagang, hopefully, given our limited resources, kung ano yung kaya natin, di ba? Because alam natin, mahal yan Yung mga strategic petroleum resource, mahal po yan, no? Kakailangan ng maraming pondo. Yung mga subsidiya, mahal din po yan. So, kung hanggang kailan yung threshold natin dyan, no? Beyond what's really temporary.
Kung hanggang kailan kakayanin.
Opo, kasi lalaki naman yung utang ng bansa natin. Kung nakita natin sa mga ibang bansa na maraming subsidiya, lumalaki yung mga budget deficit nila at mga utang nila. To the point na nasa-site na credit rating agencies at bumababa yung credit rating nila at tumataas yung borrowing cost nila.
Yung setup, Sir Mike, sa tingin mo ba posible na ang mga oil companies ang mas makikinabang kaysa sa taong bayan?
Well, kitang-kita po yan Dapat, okay, market forces, yes. Pero dapat yung market forces na yung healthy competition, tsaka yung yung walang collusion, yung nag-uusap-usap. Diba dapat patas. Pag umaakyat, mabilis mag-adjust, sige, market forces yun. No? Kung ano yung katanggap-tanggap din based sa international practice. Di ba yung mga global best practices? No? Yung based sa what's legally and morally proper and acceptable.
Yeah.
And pag bababa naman yung presyo, kung pinalad tayo lahat, mas normalize, magkasundo-sundo sa Middle East, ganun din ba kabilis mag-cut ng presyo?
Sir Mike, just hypothetically, kung hindi ito mag-work, itong mga measure na to, ano sa tingin mo mga pinaka-effective na mga hakbang na dapat gawin ng pamahalaan to shield, to protect us from the ill effects, ito mga masamang epekto, itong patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng fuel?
Well, kasi meron namang may mga existing na batas na, yung when it comes to laban sa undue profiteering, economic sabotage. It's a matter of yung mga consumer protection related na batas. Papairan na lang yun, na para wala yung unduly hoard, unduly profit, talagang parang yun nga, papunta nga doon sa batas na yun, yung economic sabotage and so on. So, well, kasi kailangan parang sa kalyan, kailangan mo ng enforcer ng police, di ba? Or in a typical society, the police powers would still matter to ensure order, di ba?
Right.
And walang abuses. Kasi,
Sir Mike, kanina niyo po sinasabi yung healthy competition among petroleum oil companies. Sa tingin niyo po ba, mula nung effectivity ng oil deregulation law ng 1998, may naidulot po ba itong maganda sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas? Or there is a need to revisit the law right now, especially in the light of the ongoing crisis that we are facing in the country?
well, kahit pa paano, mix naman At least yung independent players, smaller players, nandito doon. Puporme na lang sa lugar kasi meron din mga sitwasyon na yung ibang lugar, mas mura yung upa, mas mura yung taxes, mas mura yung operating cost. No? So, nakatulong din, dumami sila. No? Pero siyempre, dapat may checks and balances pa rin. No? Make sure na parang, well, sige, may announcement, Siguro dahil sa packaging lang ng announcements, no? Parang sabay-sabay ba sila? O dapat ba? Di ba?
Yun nga po
Parang bakit? Oh,
Yes, sir,
concerted. Di ba dapat iba-iba silang presyo, di ba? Hindi yung
Masalimuot talaga yan, Sir Mike, ano? And ito pang isa pang masalimuot, ano? In an interview, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said that he is open to the rediscussing the prospect that our country will have a joint oil and gas project with China in a disputed area of the South China Sea. So, Sir Mike, do you think this will have a long-term effect, or this will be a part of the long-term solutions that the government is looking for in terms of addressing future energy crisis?
Well, kung magkasundo-sundo, well and good, no? Pero nasa track record yan kung yung na ba yung naging track record niya, yan, yung mga bansa na nag-uusap yan when it comes to territorial disputes, no? Parang challenging hindi ganun kadali yun no? Kasi parang ang approach nila, all or nothing, zero-sum no? Kung pagka may dispute parang I have yet to really see convincingly na magkakasundo yung dalawang partido, no? When it comes to things like those, given the territorial disputes and the disputes on, di ba? Pagdating on the seas, no? Kaya, well, pero kung if there's some constructive agreement about it, why not, no? Yung mga joint exploration. Kasi from time to time, nakikita natin yan Yung sa mga yung mga lugar na nagkakaroon ng talagang claims itong whether legitimate or passes sa international law o hindi. Yun may element of uncertainty doon no?
All right, as we try to wrap things up, Sir Mike, any last message for the Filipino people who are listening to us?
Talagang makokontrol lang po talaga natin is on the demand side. No? Yung emergency na yung pag-declare ng state of emergency sa enerhiya, it is just to, well, syempre, dapat it really meant for us to have greater readiness on a worst case scenario. Hopefully, that worst case scenario doesn't happen. But nonetheless, isa rin itong an eye-opener for all of us to have the foresight also to plan ahead. No? And structurally, continue pa rin natin yung pagbawas sa dependency natin sa imported na lang is mag-accelerate na natin yung renewables. So there's no way to go kasi matagal nang ganyan yung even under more normal conditions, business as usual, talagang nag-shift na away from petroleum, from coal, from marami ng bansa, maraming negosyo, nagko-commit to reduction of their carbon footprint and emissions. So it's really about time to take those seriously as part of ESG standards, holistic. No? It's not just green, but ESG, meaning environment, social, human rights, and G, governance. So it all starts and ends with good governance. So mas maganda yung governance standards. Mas marami pagkakataon na seryosohin talaga lahat ng mga importanteng bagay na to sa ating bansa. Energy security, di ba? And kasama rin yan sa mga reforma para lalong paigtingin at i-uplift yung ating governance standards at pagtuunan natin ng pansin. Ito, yung mga sitwasyon na ganito, prepared tayo, any form of emergency, energy security, food security, and ayun, yung magka-foresight tayo palagi na yung readiness natin nandoon o anumang sitwasyon, nakakalkula na lahat. No? And ayun, it's really about time na eye-opener to ulit na we have to be prepared for these kinds of worst-case scenario, whether they happened they have yet to happen in recent memory or yan, parang matagal-tagal na to, 1970s pa. So, yun po. Sana naman po keenly aware tayo na mag-conserve pa rin tayo, mag-shift tayo sa renewables and so supportan natin yung moves para sa kapayapaan, para ma-pressure din itong warring parties.
Thank you for your time, Sir Michael Ricafort, and thank you for such an insightful conversation with you tonight. All right, that was Michael Ricafort, the RCBC's economist.
Economist,
Yes. Ito, role-playing tayo dito. Unahin ko to si Attorney Sandro kasi ano to potential nito.
Ano ba yan? Ano
Okay,
ba yan?
kung isa kayo sa mga presidential advisor, sabi anong hakbang ang dapat gawin ng Pangulo para maibsan ang bigat ng epekto ng krisis na kinakaharap ng bansa ngayon?
Well, sa akin, in the context nitong ating pinagdaraanan ngayon, unang-una napansin ko lang doon sa Republic Act 12316, yung binigay na emergency powers kay President BBM ng Kongreso ay patungkol po lamang doon sa kapangyarihan na i-reduce yung excise tax. Wala pong sinabi na pwede rin i-reduce yung VAT ng petroleum products. As a matter of fact, meron pa tayong powers ng President under the Oil Deregulation Law na pwede din niyang i-reduce ang tariff ng petroleum products na pumapasok sa Pilipinas, sa ating bansa. Bakit hindi po natin i-exhaust yun? Para Pangalawa, parang nakikita natin dito na ang lahat ng tao, buong mundo, at pati yung ekonomiya ng Pilipinas ay dependent po sa oil, sa langis. Itong produkto na ito na langis. Siguro panahon na kagaya na sinasabi kanina ni Sir Mike, na i-tap na natin yung ating mga natural energy resources. But at the same time, I think it's about time for the world na pumunta na sa renewable energy. Kasi palagay ko, pag tayo pumunta, nag-shift ang mundo papunta sa renewable energy, mababago din ang mapa ng geopolitics. Mapupunta na kung saan ngayon ang mga rare minerals na component para gumawa ng battery.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I have an information according to my readings na nandun na yung China, nag-i-invest na sa pagmimina ng lithium sa mga
Actually, matagal na.
silently. Parang si Trump na lang yata na iiwan dun sa pagkikipaglaban sa gitnang silangan sa oil.
Totoo yan, totoo yan.
So-
Pansinin mo na lang yung containers kung nasaan
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Alright.
sa akin naman,
Sige.
it's obvious that since this crisis has started, the government has been playing a balancing act. Binabalanse niya
Correct.
Kaya makikita natin ang bagal magresponde. Kaya nga nagagalit na yung mga senador the
Dapat
other
king
day.
talaga siya dyan.
That's right. So yung nag-iingat ang ating ang ating pangulo upang balansehin yung interest ng mga oil companies, for example, versus the public interest. Because kapag nagkamali siya dito, halimbawa masyado siyang kumiling doon sa public interest sa mga tao, maaring mag-spiral down lalo yung ating ekonomiya. At matakot yung mga investors, not just in the energy sector, but also in the other industries. So baka sabihin tuloy ng mga kapitalista, ay masyadong yung regulatory powers ng government at makaalis na nga, makapunta na lang sa ibang And then another balancing act, yung sinasabi nga ni attorney, should we remain dependent doon sa yung traditional na source of fuel, which is oil mostly from the Middle East, or should it go for sustainable energy? Oo. So, tingin ko ang kinakailangan dito, Advisor, I will tell the President, Mr. President, I think you should think out of the box. Kasi, mga traditional measures, they can only work to a certain extent.
Yes.
But we have to
In a very limited sphere.
That's right. And we have to give we have to respond quickly. And at the same time, balance is interest. Ang hirap niyan, So, naintindihan ko yung Pangulo, pero at the same time, kawawa rin naman yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan.
Correct. And I think pinaka-importante niyan ng tingnan, how much revenue, ano ba ang amount, gaano kalaki ang makukuha mo on this particular, let's say, policy, on this particular move, na gagawin. Kasi ako, ang gaganda ng mga suggestion niyo Okay, babalik na naman ako doon sa tanong.
Kasi ganito.
Yung flood control anomaly. Babalikan ko lang ito saglit.
Yun ang pinakamalaking spill.
Magkano ang issue na pinag-uusapan doon? 1.3 trillion pesos.
Sayang yun.
Can you just imagine how far can that go?
Yes.
To address in alleviating the plight of the Filipino people now brought about by this tension. It's no joke.
Yes.
Kung meron mga dapat pagtuunan ng pansin, maliban sa pag-come up with mga policy to do the patchworking, ika nga, I mean, so to speak, no? I think dapat pagtuunan din ito kung ako magsasadya, ako presidential advisor. Tutukan ito ngayon to run after those deeply involved in this flood control fiasco. Ito mga nagnakaw ng pera ng tao. Di ba? Bakit hindi yun ang tutukan ngayon? Pabilisin natin para, anong tawag dito, magsoli ng pera. Inunahan na nila Alcantara yun eh. Bakit hindi magtuloy-tuloy na yan?
Kahit kalahati man lang.
Di ba? Ina-allege naman dyan yung maraming malalapit sa kanya. Di ba? Bakit hindi yun? I think, pinakamagandang bawi ni Presidente yun.
Yes.
Maliban dito sa mga hakbang na ginagawa niya to address this oil issue,
At
concerns.
ito pa, ang tinututukan ngayon ng mga subsidy ay itong mga transport sector, vulnerable transport sector natin, mga kababayan. Pero sa totoo lang, meron pa tayong 10 million na farmers and farm workers na umaasa din sa kanilang machineries at saka patubig sa krudo at gasolina. Ito pa, may 1.2 million pa na mga fishermen na may mga motorboat na umaasa din sa gasolina. Hindi ba sila entitled sa ayuda?
Yes.
Di ba? So, hanggang kailan at hanggang magkano ang kakailanganin natin?
And attorney, speaking of yung mga sectors na those who are left behind,
Yes.
doon mismo sa transport sector, nagtatanong yung mga konduktor, paano naman kami? Bakit mga drivers lang? Di ba? So, yun.
Ako, whether we like it or not, let's face it, no? Inevitably, lahat tayo magdadating sa punto, middle class especially, darating sa punto na magtatanong ka, paano naman kami? O baka sabihin ng mga judge, beke ni men. Kasi, kasi, imagine mo ultimong tubig na iniinom natin, that requires energy.
Yes, of course.
Yung coal, yung importation yan, kung hindi na dumating dito yan, dahil sa mahal ng crudo, barko yan galing sa Indonesia. O sino nagpapatakbo ng tubig para may mainom at mapaligo ka ngayon?
Yeah.
Enerhiya pa rin yan. It's very crucial. Di ba? But then again, maraming pwedeng paraan kung may resources ka. If you have ample amount of resources, I think, di ba? Kasi tulad sabi mo, renewable energy. Solar, bakit hindi natin pasadahan, buong bansa may solar kagad import from China? Kasi
mga batas
may biyahe naman.
Pababa sa mga presyo ng mga sasakyan na renewable energy ang ginagamit.
Di ba, puno yun ng solar plant yan, na farm, ang buong country. Sa dawak ng lupain natin, kung may enough fund, di ba, mag-import, buo ng solar plant, din may enerhiya. But again, kailangan mo at the end of the day, pondo. Pero ang isa sa nakikita ko pinaka-immediate, ipasoli nga yung mga pera ng mananakaw.
You're sounding like a political advisor than an economic advisor niyan.
Siyempre. Hindi naman ako si Mike Ricafort.
Pero tama si Mike kanina, diba? Na kailangan mag-imbak na tayo.
Yun. Everybody has to prepare.
Self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency. Palagi na lang tayong handa.
Ano sabi niya? Tawagin ka na lang paranoid. Di ba? Pero yung mga preppers ngayon, sa totoo lang, they're all set.
Dapat naman yung state of mind ng ano. If you'd like to go for preparation long term, then your state of mind should be one of a paranoia.
Exactly. We've gone through a lot in life. The pandemic, brought a lot of things to us. Ang daming lessons na matututunan. Ito, before you know it, you're already there and tremendously affected by this
Pero Sir Ox,
crisis.
baka lumabas na naman yung resiliency.
Yun ang pinaka-paborito nilang term. Filipinos are resilient. Wow.
Excuse me. Ako doon sa reset with China.
Reset, ha?
Parang reset. Parang yung idea of forging a mutual economic agreement again with China. Parang template yan nung nakaraan eh.
Reset.
Kung meron dapat i-reset, yung i-reset, yung patuloy at tawag ito, sagarang investigasyon doon sa mga involved ng pagnanakaw sa gobyerno at yung tahasang pagtugis sa kanila at ibalik ang pondo sa pamahalaan para sa taong bayan. Sa puntong ito, kung saan tinatamasa natin na matinding krisis, dulot ng nagpapatuloy na giyera sa gitnang silangan. For weeks, Filipinos have been absorbing the impact of rising fuel prices, higher fares, more expensive goods, and a growing strain on everyday living. And yet, only now do we see a decisive response. The question is no longer just about global tensions or oil supply. The real question is, were we prepared or are we once again reacting too late? And while policymakers deliberate, ordinary Filipinos continue to pay the price. But if relief is delayed, if action is conditional, if solutions come only after the damage is done, then we must ask the harder question. Is this governance or damage control? Because in the end, it is not policy on paper that defines leadership. Please do take note of that. It is how quickly, how decisively, and how effectively it responds when the people need it most. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ox Balyado.
Hanggang sa muli, ako si Risandro Unay.
And with our veteran political analyst, Dr. Dennis Coronacion, sir.
Hanggang sa susunod na mainit na talakayan, ako po si Professor Dennis Coronacion.
Hanggang sa muli nating paghihimay-himay ng mga balitang may pakialam ka. This is the program where we cut through the noise, confront the gaps, and demand the answers the nation deserves. This is the PH Insider on TV.